See, since Biden has not done anything for police reform, I always think of myself as, what would a president do? So I have to really put myself in that situation to come up with, I hate the word, I don't like to, if I became president, I would never use the word law. I would never use it. Any person would come up to me and say anything about law, I'd say, get out of my room about legality. I do not want to talk about legality. I do not want to talk about law, not in my White House and all that stuff. So as a president, what I would talk about is help. I would change the word law with help. How are we going to help people? Not how are we going to imprison people? Because America does not understand that there's two giant countries in this global planet that we live on. Okay, we live on Earth, right? And there's two giant countries, and they have more people in prison than any other country, even more than China. America and Russia. America, the United States of America, USA, and Russia. The United States of America and Russia have more people in prison than any other country in the world. Okay? The United States of America and Russia. What was once called the USSR. So USA and Russia. They have more people in prison than any other country in the world. Do the research. Even more than China. China has less people in their prisons than we have in this country, United States of America and Russia. The reason why is because we're corrupt. Okay? So that's why I would say, do not talk about law to me, especially in a government that's completely corrupt. I don't buy Biden's stuff, nor does I buy all of what Trump does. Nixon even proclaimed to the people that I'm not a crook. But why did he resign? For crooked reasons, okay? The president of the United States resigned. Richard Nixon, he resigned because of crooked reasons. But yet he told the people, I'm not a crook, right? And I'm sure Gerald Ford was just perfectly fine, who was the person that came up with laws that have to do with wives being able to lock up their husband for not making enough money, okay? Capitalism there's no such thing as capitalism in Earth, on the global planet, okay? When I say Earth, I mean the global planet, okay? Because I'm talking about the world. There is no capitalism in the world. There never was. Capitalism is another form of heightened communism. We are in a heightened communistic society, more so than you would ever believe. Think of what Facebook can do. Think of what with all these social media sites can do, okay? Think about how people are connected, okay? And it's dangerous. It's a dangerous existence. We're in a very dangerous existence. It's very, very sad. And it's heightened communism. Now, one of the things that we have to do to get out of this, I'm not gonna really say socialism because I don't want to sound like freaking Adolf Hitler or anything, but the one thing that we have to do to get out of this, okay, is we have to realize that we're in a problem, okay? Recently, we've had one of our...
Watch out, hazard reported ahead.
We had one of our senators' house broken into. The guy went crazy, and he had somebody had a hammer. I think that probably that guy was probably attacked, and he had tried to jump out of a window. He obviously tried to jump out of the window. He tried to escape. But probably what that really was this, okay? He was probably tricked into believing that he could do an interview with Pelosi. I don't even know how to say her name, Pelosi, whatever. And so he showed up to do the interview because that would be an interview of a lifetime for any reporter. Okay, to be able to interview a president or a senator or any type of governmental figure, a mayor or anything, right? Any kind of governmental figure, okay? And it would be a great story. So he showed up trying to create a story. And then he realized he was in a wrong situation. I think the guy that owned the place attacked him. And in self-defense, he tried to leave, and now they have him as a political prisoners. Now we are under a different type of McCarthyism. Okay, people, artists, all kinds of stuff are being locked up. We've got Harvey Weinstein in prison, who is running Miramax, one of the most important indie alternative film studios in the world, the Weinstein Studios, over hearsay of a bunch of women that probably want to make more money, who is in prison today because of just hearsay. Okay, probably. Maybe he did get with them, but maybe that's what they wanted. So they played into his design. And because of a few second recording of him saying something about, I don't know what he said, something about friendship in 5 minutes or something like that. He is now spending the rest of his, probably a big time of his life in prison, and which I feel is kind of overdone. Now, something with Hoyt's Claw, you got a police officer with a lethal weapon raping black women. Yes, he should be in prison for life. Absolutely. Anyone that has an authority figure, that's been given an authority figure by this crazy government and goes off and rapes innocent women should go to freaking prison because they have a lethal sidearm on their side when they do it. Actually, to be honest, what I always say about police officers is whenever you have a problem with them, go for attempted murder always. File the charges against that police officer for attempted murder always. Always go for attempted murder first. Don't go for assault. Don't go for battery. Don't go for abuse of power. Don't go for that. Go for murder. Go for attempted murder. Get them on the big charges. Because, see, that's what they try to get people on. Okay? Poor little police officer. Someone almost tried to kill him. Well, you know what? There can be a day here pretty soon where January 6th is every day. You see, you hear those police officers screaming in the Capitol, screaming for their lives. And they go, I got one. Read my play, Sniffles and Ash, about Sniffles and Ash. Right? I got one, who cares, They were lucky to leave alive, and all of them left alive. Every single one of them went home. Now, some of them did commit suicide. Hey, that's between them and their own gun. They deal with that every day. You ever seen Lethal Weapon? With Mel Gibson, that was practically a reality show. Okay? That was practically a reality show. Okay? So them blowing their own brains out is not because of what happened January 6th. January 6th was a reaction because the government was not allowing people to make money. The government was getting in the way. They were garnishing people, and they have gone crazy. The government has gone crazy with garnishment, right? And they're stealing from you, right? And they cannot use anyone else. The judges aren't going to arrest you, okay? Biden's not going to arrest you. The Senates are not going to arrest you. Congressmen are not going to arrest you. Police officers are the ones that have to do it, and they don't have to. An officer can turn his badge in at any moment, and if you're an officer, please turn your badge in, turn your lethal sidearm right now, turn it in. So I'm going to tell you this right now. You're serving Satan. You're serving the enemy. Okay? Turn it in. Get out of it. Find something good to do. Help people. Okay? Don't imprison people. Remember, United States of America and Russia have more people in prison than any other country in the world. Okay? We have more people in prison in the entire world. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay? The congressmen can't do it. They have to send their soldier over to put the cuffs on you. But you don't have to listen to them. January 6th, all those officers could have stood down. They could have stood down and allowed the people to enter so that they know who is in charge of this country. The people are. Not the police officers, not the president, not the Congress. They are not really in charge. We did not have to let all those people, we could have pardoned those people that day. We did not have to let any of them leave without paying a price that day. We did not have to, but we chose to pardon them. We allowed them to live. And Babbitt was shot in the neck by a police officer. Okay, he was Secret Service, or he was someone that was armed at the Capitol and shot her in the neck and killed her. And all she was a protester. It's like shooting it into a group of protesters, just like what happened at Kent College that Neil Young sang about in Ohio. If you ever heard the song Ohio about Neil Young, okay, they shot into protesters. Okay, that guy should be doing time in prison, but he's not. And what happened is they put him on a talk show where he cried and felt bad about what he did. Well, you know what? He should be in prison for murder. He put a gun to a woman's neck and pulled the trigger, basically, okay? So what I'm trying to tell you, as an officer, you do not have to do something that you feel God is not allowing you to do. You do not have to do that. You can turn in your badge, and you can find a real job and be a real man, okay? You know what's wrong. That officer that pulled me over and I told him I had a lawyer over that ticket, and he jailed me anyway, he knows he's wrong. He knows he's wrong. All I had to do the next day was go to Louisville and pay a $30 fine thing. Okay, $30 is all I had to pay. The next day which is what I did, because I got a hold of him the next day. See, a lot of people don't know what's going on, right? all over $30. You don't put handcuffs over $300,000. You don't put handcuffs over $3 million. You don't endanger a person's life over money. That's what mafia does. That's what the cartel does. What happens when you owe money? They kill you. You know why? Because they're mafioso. And that's what we do not want our country to turn into. So in my future, there will be no money. We'll have no money. And that is utopia. And without money, there will be no crime. We get rid of money, we get rid of crime. So then you don't have bills to pay. You just have to know what you need to do, and you do it, right? If you're putting handcuffs on a person for any reason, Paul was the worst murderer. He was worse than Hannibal Lecter. St. Paul, who wrote the Bible, was worse than Hannibal Lecter. He killed Christians with a smile on his face. His name was Saul. He had a rock in his hand and bashed Christians' faces in, where their faces were deformed, and bashed them in, laughing at the Christians. He did that to Stephen and laughed at him as Stephen died. He was pure evil, and he admitted it in the Bible. He said, I am the chief of all murderers. I am the chief of all sinners. And Christ saved him, and he backed away and realized he was wrong. The Roman soldiers cut his head off when they found out where the money was going, because Rome only cared about money. And Paul knew about money because Paul was from the tribe of Benjamin and was Jewish, and he knew about money. They held him under house arrest until they found out where the money was coming from. And after months and months and months of searching for that money, which, hey, think of Solomon. Solomon's mine, all the gold in the world. After holding St. Paul for many months, he decided to write letters to the church and tell them, listen, we're wrong. Be nice and be kind. Use charity. Stop putting handcuffs on people. Stop putting handcuffs on people. And love Jesus. Now, I am not a slave, nor am I any worse than that. I am not what Paul is, nor will I ever be, because Jesus Christ died for my sins. I don't have to worry about that. I will not be crucified. You know why? Because Jesus Christ was crucified for me and died for me. I don't have to. If you're going to get through me, you got to get through him. And let me tell you, when he calls upon his angels, he'll make your F-15 Eagles look like flies, thumping them away. He'll make your guns into mush. Jesus Christ and God can make you go away just like that. Developed. Why aren't we England? Okay. United States of America is not England. The redcoats were handcuffing people and locking them up in jail because they did not pay certain fees. Okay. They didn't pay the government or the state what they wanted to be paid. The Church of England was like a state. It was a government. And if you didn't pay up, then guess what? Right? They'd come after you. Until Paul Revere got tired of it. And Paul Revere said, redcoats. Redcoat. He got tired of it. Okay? Now, Paul Revere was very crafty. Because Paul Revere was a better horseman than all of England. He could ride the horse better than Ryan Gosling in the movie Drive. Yes, Paul Revere could. Now, why are we not England? Because we bashed the head of the Englishmen in with the fist of the Apache. And we chopped them up in little pieces, and we sent them down the river so their family could see them in little pieces. And we made them remember that we are not fair. And we became free of England. We fought like guerrillas. Now, when there's taxation without representation, we will kick in your door, right? To make you know, capital. We will kick in your door to make you know who's in charge. The people are. And Paul Revere was part of the people. Paul Revere was part of the people. Okay? Now, my grandfather, being half Apache, got pulled over by Piggy because he flashed his lights like this. See, I'm flashing my lights.
Police reported ahead.
And he let the people know that Piggy wanted some money. But Piggy didn't get their way. But they wanted to pull him over to call him Paul Revere because he was half Apache. It was like a racial, whatever they call it, the racial thing that they do. When they pull people over because of their nation or because of their race. Racial profiling, because he was Apache. His name was Papa Joe. He died in his 50s of a stroke, but he was a mail carrier. He used to pray over all his envelopes. His name was Papa Joe. Now, Papa Joe was pulled over, and the police officer stuck his little flashlight in his face. His family was in the car and everything. And he said to him, "What's the problem, officer?" And the Piggy said, "Why are you flashing your lights?" Paul Revere. He called him Paul Revere. True story. Because he was warning his people. He was a United States postal deliverer. And he was warning his people that there was danger ahead. That's why they do that. There's danger ahead.
I want to tell you something, baby. I want to tell you something, baby. Before you get up and go, press the button on the TV screen for the please subscription. Just tell you something, baby. Before you get up and go, press the button on the TV screen for the please subscription.
Wonder if Lim Shatner's like, I finally made it.